Brian, I asked you after week 1 last year, why didn't you take advantage of more waste downs against South Dakota State? And your response to me was, well, I didn't feel like we had many waste downs. As the season progressed, and by my count, you guys attempted to take advantage of approximately 5 waste downs all year. Is that something you look back at and say, we gotta be a little bit more opportunistic with, or what's your approach with waste downs?
Could you give me your definition of a waste down?
My definition would be 2nd and 1, 2 or 3, or 3rd and 1. Obviously that's up for debate, right?
I would have a hard time ever seeing 3rd and 1 as a waste down.
Okay.
If I could phrase the answer this way, I think if you think philosophically about offensive football, and then if you think philosophically about offensive football and how it fits into team football, or at least the team football that we're trying to play, our job is very simple. If you look at how we're built defensively, probably easier way to flip this on its head. Look at us statistically. Look at what we do very well. Our defense always is going to be tops in points per game, right? So their focus is on limiting points, right? Now start moving down the line. The next thing they're worried about, right, is field position and possessing the football, right? So like our defense isn't necessarily going out there and just trying to get the ball right back. They're trying to limit points. They want to limit the offense from advancing the ball, right? And then turnovers, they happen, right? They happen, but we're not always out there just trying to create them. And we get a lot, right? But it's not because we're running Buddy Ryan or Rex Ryan stuff. I remember in the NFL, like Rex Ryan, brilliant guy, really good defense, and there were some statistics that they were always going to be tops in, but points wasn't always one of them. When it was, they were very successful. But they had a different philosophy. They were about attacking, and they were about trying to take the ball away. So now you got to look at us as a team and say, okay, well, if those are our priorities, then you got to flip that on its head a little bit, right, offensively. So first and foremost, our job is to possess the football. We have to have the football. Okay, whether it's turnovers, right, or drives or whatever, we want to possess it. Then we need to advance it, then we need to score it. So what I'm saying is on waste downs, just always refer back to the model. If it's 3rd and 1, right, possession, advancing or scoring, all risk reward, right? That's what I'm getting at. And sometimes 2nd and 1 to 2nd and 3 are going to fall into those. Now, you may take a shot on 1st and 10. You may take a shot on 3rd and 12, depending on the field position, right? But when you are trying to advance the ball in those chunks, it's just, for me, and I'm not saying it's right, it's never as simple as, hey, it's just 2nd and 1. Hey, we can throw this one away and whatever happens doesn't matter. Every time you put a play in the game, what happens matters critically. And it doesn't mean that you don't take chances or you don't push the ball downfield, right, or you don't try to advance it in chunks. But you have to be very cognizant of when and why you're doing it. I know that's a long, meandering answer. Does that answer your question?
It does. And I guess to sum it up, that's not been something that you're looking at or you've examined specifically. Waste downs have not been something.
No, but I've heard of plenty of defensive guys say 2nd and 1 shot down.
Sure.
Right? Like Bill Belichick talks about that all the time.
Yeah.
Right? And I think some people philosophically perhaps call plays that way. We don't. That's all I would say. Now, we're going to send the ball. We're going to take shots. We're going to do those things. But if this makes sense, right, like sometimes your absolute best opportunity to do it might actually be 3rd and 13, right? Because you can guarantee a certain coverage. You can guarantee a certain matchup. You can guarantee a certain look. That's when it's time to take your shot. Maybe it is 2nd and 1 because you know you're going to get something or they're going to do. Maybe it's a certain field position. Maybe it's the plus 19. Maybe it's the minus 35, depending on what's going on. I guess what I would say is like the way we would look at it is there's just a little bit more to it than down a distance.
Sure. And final question.
Clock and score.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
It's a simple game.
Yeah.
That can become complicated.
Are there people, and you've been asked this I'm sure in the past, but are there people specifically over the years that you've been here as the OC that you've leaned on to better yourself as a play caller? I mean, there's so many great people that have come through this program, either as coaches or players that have become great coaches, people in the NFL that you've connected with. Mm-hmm. Who have you specifically leaned on to learn more about play calling and advance that craft?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people, right? There's people I worked with. There's people I learned under. that you stay in contact with, that you touch base with. And then one thing you have to do in the offseason is get out and talk to people, whether it's on the phone, whether it's go out and visit people. And there's plenty of examples. You talk to guys in college football, you talk to guys in pro football, you talk to guys on all levels of college football, you talk to guys in high school, you talk to as many football coaches as you can, and just talk football. And that's the goal.
Are there specific people that you've really leaned on over the years?
I don't. How long have you covered us?
Well, I've been doing this podcast for about 2 years.
Yeah. Have you ever heard me drop a name?
Probably not. It's on precedent.
Not about to.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Coach.